This is Charles Kao in Tokyo at the World Travel and Tourism Council Summit with Mr. Tom Klein, President of Sabre Holdings. Obviously everybody's heard about Sabre and its 60 countries and just tens of thousands of clients, but Tom is, besides that role, is on the board of directors for Brand USA, appointed by the U.S. Secretary of Commerce. He's also on the executive committee of the World Travel and Tourism Council. Welcome, Tom.
Thanks, Charles. It's good to see you again.
Likewise. Let's start talking about home-based agents. Of how I know that that's been very important in the U.S. market, in the U.K. market. It's been growing. I don't know whether you would call those outside salespeople in Asia home-based. I guess they're home-based. But what have you experienced from the GDS standpoint of the value you're bringing to them?
Sure, Charles. That's a great question, and I think that it's really a home-based workforce in all industries. But let's talk about travel, since that's what we're here to talk about this week. Technology's enabled a lot of new benefits for companies to be able to have their workforces distributed, and travel's really moved out. We see a big migration out of offices to the home. In some cases, those are networked agents that are actually just plugged into a bigger infrastructure, and in other cases, they really are almost like an individual sales agent. Both models are expanding in some markets exponentially. In the United States, we've seen a big boom, and what Sabre's provided for a long time, a number of tools that allow our travel agents to push out our systems to home-based agents, and increasingly they're doing so. We were in the home-based agency business for a while. We sold that business to travel leaders, and from all reports, they've continued to grow it at a pace that's much bigger than the general growth in the travel agency market.
Have you seen that growth in the last 12 months or so more in certain markets than others?
Well, again, our biggest data point for home base is the U.S., but yes, I think in the rest of the world, again, as the technology's improved, as the infrastructure in people's homes has improved as far as availability of bandwidth, more and more people are taking advantage of working from home, if not all the time, at least for part of the week.
In terms of technology innovation, Sabre Red is something that has been a big thing for the last year.
Absolutely.
Tell us a bit more about it and how it has evolved now.
Okay. Well, Sabre Red is our travel agency workspace, and what we were addressing with Red was not just our own ability to send out updates and to provide a seamless refresh to our customers with their desktop instead of having to send a diskette or send a disruptive download. We're able to really remotely push out services that are new to the travel agent. But more importantly, it allows them to integrate their own systems. And the travel agency business, like all business, has gotten more and more complex. They rely on a number of third-party systems as well as their own. And Sabre Red allows them to pretty seamlessly and easily integrate their information and their other systems into the Sabre desktop. We've had broad adoption. We've had almost 200,000 users out there today, and after just 18 months in the market. So we've seen great success. Customers really like the product, and we're seeing really innovative use out of the travel agents.
I'm just visualizing, laughing to myself, seeing home-based agents with their tablets
Yes.
in front of the TV with Sabre Red on.
Yes, absolutely.
Working on Sabre Red. And then Sabre virtual meetings. It seems like in the last 6 months, there's been a lot of work done on that, and new announcements of partnerships and such. What is that evolving to be?
Right. Well, Sabre Virtual Meetings was a gap. It's really looking at filling a gap that customers have, and that's finding out how to use video conferencing facilities, especially the high-end video conference facilities, finding ways to book those rooms, whether they're third-party rooms or whether they're inside your own corporation, and basically organizing that inventory the same way we've organized travel industry inventory. As we talk to our customers, our corporate customers, about travel, we really often quickly evolve to a discussion around interaction and that interaction can happen in person, or it can happen through a video conference, and it's just an alternative for that customer interaction that our customers really have said they'd like to have it in the core decision path when they're looking at trips and meetings. They'd like to at least know what the alternatives are as far as video, especially again as high-end video conferencing becomes more and more available. So we're working with a number of companies like Regis, the temporary office provider who has lots of video facilities, as well as some of the biggest providers of equipment in the industry.
That's just being rolled out.
Just being rolled out, and it's got broad interest because there really is a gap in the market that nobody's addressing. We're real excited about it.
A year ago, I read in an interview that you gave about mobile technology as it relates to travel, and you indicated that travel bookings were still on the low end at that time. Where's the status of that now, and what might Sabre be doing to address it?
Yeah, well, just a year ago, bookings on mobile devices were actually low. It's funny to be talking about that in Japan, because Japan was the one outlier. I mean, today, almost 60% of domestic airline tickets in Japan are booked on a mobile device. So, but Japan was always in mobile was always a leader as far as booking characteristics. But in the rest of the world, while we saw lots of people using their mobile devices for travel information and itinerary, having be able to see where they were on their itinerary, we didn't see much booking activity until recently. We're seeing a big uptake in hotel bookings on mobile devices. And the interesting thing, Charles, is that those hotel bookings are being consumed 60%, a little more than 60% of the time, the same day they're booked. So it's a very different booking profile. And for suppliers, that should be really exciting, because this is a unique customer set who has a unique need, and they're consuming the booking the same day they make it. So we're really excited about that trend. We're also seeing with our Travelocity, our consumer subsidiary, that business with their iPad application, we're starting to see similar characteristics. Lots of hotel bookings consumed close in, not as frequently same day as on a mobile phone, but again, a very short consumption window, usually inside of 2 days. Usually inside of 4 days on bookings made on the iPad. So very different. On the desktop, it's about 2 weeks is the consumption curve. So it's just different behavior by different customer sets as they use different devices.
Location-based services associated with that yet?
As far as the hotel displays,
bookings, yeah.
Yes, for the hotel displays are coming up location-based. I think there'll be if we think about what's going to happen, I think that a big move in both the experience at the hotel from the hotelier, as far as how you manage your experience and doing that with your mobile device, as well as when you're in the airport. I think we'll see a big expansion of services and interactions with customers on their mobile devices once they enter the airport facility. So I think a lot of action there, Charles, and we're investing heavily.
The driving tourists during the summer bookings must just same-day bookings must just go to the roof.
Well, we haven't seen this. We haven't had a full summer for this trend, so it'll be interesting to see what this summer how it plays out.
Ancillary travel services is obviously big, especially for airlines.
Right.
Have they come to you yet to put it on the GDS, and then where is that evolving?
Yeah, a number of airlines have come to us to push those services through the GDS, and especially some of the services that make sense to be consumed when you're buying the ticket. So certainly seat selection and preferred seating options. There's a number of airlines that are pushing that through the GDS channel and seeing good revenue returns for it. There's a number of ancillaries that are maybe harder to sell at the time when you're actually making the booking. Some of them are better served at the airport on a kiosk. Some of them are better served with a push message sometime before your trip. So it really depends, I think, on the lead time of the trip booking and I think we'll see a lot of experimentation. And our challenge as a technology provider, both to the airlines and to and as a distribution method, is to give suppliers a very rich technical environment to be able to test concepts and to learn what their customers really like and really want to buy in advance of their travel.
The contract with Hewlett-Packard HP for infrastructure application services, is that going to mean anything special?
Well, we're a big customer of HP, and HP is incredibly important, really our most important technology partner. So we rely a lot on them to work with us on new initiatives. I think HP has been a terrific partner from a standpoint of pioneering concepts with Sabre, where we've worked hard to be pioneers on things like private cloud computing. There's a lot of talk about the public cloud, but private cloud is still really very much in its infancy at big corporations, and we're working with HP as an example to pioneer that technology. So we have a lot of good interaction with them. We rely on them every day to do a good job running some of our big data centers, and we're excited to have renewed the agreement with them.
Any other innovation you can talk about that I didn't ask about or will be launched shortly?
Yeah, well, I think let me go back to mobile for a second. This summer we'll come out with our next big release of TripCase, and we have a lot of interesting features that travelers have been talking to us about that we'll be able to deliver there, including a much more location-aware application. So not just serve up. What you'll see on your itinerary is actually going to be based on where you are or what time it is, because what time it is between when you booked your trip and when you're going to consume it. So you'll see a different display the day before travel that you might have seen 2 weeks before travel, and you'll see a different display when you land versus what you would see before when you hit the airport on your outbound flight. And that type of innovation is, when we've shown travelers where we're going with TripCase, they get really excited about those types of opportunities that we're going to provide to them.
Sounds exciting as usual, and I mean it is true that it's over the last 15 years, Sabre's been recognized as the one that's moved out of the legacy system faster than some of the others maybe. Tom Klein, Sabre Holdings President, thank you so much. Good to see you again.
Thanks, Charles. Great to see you. Take care.